President Trump is moving forward with his plan to deport 1 million undocumented immigrants, and the arrests, the raids, the deportations are happening in every state. We're taking a look at what's going on in just one state, here in Minnesota. Carolina Ortiz is the Associate Executive Director of COPAL, which stands for the Comunidades Organizando el Poder y la Acción Latina. It's an organization formed in 2018 that is on the ground helping the Latino community. Thank you, Carolina, and I hope I didn't mess up your organization's name.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, you are on the ground actually helping these people who are the subject of these raids. Tell us what has happened in the past couple of weeks here in Minnesota and the raids that have happened.
Yeah, of course. So within the work that we've been doing in COPAL, and we've been established just for a few years now, but we've been able to engage with over 42,000 Minnesotans across the state of Minnesota. And part of that has led
And these are undocumented?
Everybody.
Everybody, okay.
Yep. But part of that has allowed us to have a really good connection with community members, knowing how to engage with them, email, text, calls. And we've been hearing a lot of fear coming from community members. As we're seeing them in person, as they're calling in for resources, they are very vocal that it is a time of uncertainty and a lot of fear.
You have an estimate that there are 100,000 undocumented residents here in Minnesota. You have actually been getting phone calls from those who have family members or loved ones that have been arrested. Tell us about the call you got from a 16-year-old.
Yes, so we've been within COPAL is a co-lead in a network called the Immigration Defense Network, and part of that is over 90 organizations, groups that have come together to really work in hand in regards to when we're hearing people calling us saying, hey, this is happening in my town, somebody got arrested. We did get somebody calling in and saying, hey, we heard that many people got arrested. We think that one of them was our family member. We need support. So within the network, we were able to work and figure out what are the details, what is actually going on, were people arrested, how do we help, and how do we move forward. So that's been a lot of the work within that network.
And this was a teenager who didn't know and whose other family members probably did not speak English, and she was the one who's kind of handling everything, right?
Yes, and part of that reminds me a lot of things that I've experienced growing up, right? You're the teenager in the family, the one that is able to speak English, the one that is able to ask the tough questions, and it is really hard hearing from people, especially when they're young, of trying to figure out what's going on. Am I going to see my family again? How do I handle this? How do I get legal support? So it's been rough.
All right. There have been at least 2 raids here in the past couple of weeks in Minnesota, one in St. Louis Park, one in Rochester. In the Rochester case, some people were released, apparently. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so what we know is that 5 were released with no criminal background.
So they had no criminal backgrounds, because the Trump administration has said if you get picked up in a raid and you're undocumented and you don't have a criminal background, we're still going to keep you. But that was not the case in the Rochester raid. Correct.
So they were released on bail is what we know right now. But we've also been hearing, and I'm sure everybody has seen it on the news, right, that if you haven't done anything bad, if you are being good and doing everything that you should, you're not in trouble. That's not what we're seeing.
Okay. What are the rights of somebody who is stopped and arrested by ICE? What can they do? Because I know you hand out cards to let people know what their rights are.
Yeah, so we've been handing out a lot of information. Part of it was for Valentine's Day. We delivered over 20,000 Know Your Rights cards for Valentine's. And we have been telling people you do have rights regardless of your status. You have the right to not open the door. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to ask for legal help. You have the right to not sign any documentation. So people do have rights, and it's important that they know that they do.
Okay, so they don't have to open the door.
No.
Okay. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't know is that those that are undocumented actually pay taxes. Explain how that works and how there's a new layer of fear being added in just recently with some of the moves by the Trump administration.
Yes, so the IRS implemented a system or program in '96 to allow people without documents to pay their taxes. It's called an ITN number, ITIN number. And that number is used similar to a Social Security number, except you cannot get any benefits, you cannot use it other than paying your taxes. And there's billions of dollars of money that immigrants have been able to pay. Right now, and what we're hearing in the news is that they want to get the data or information to use it as far as like addresses, gaining information, and using that.
So in other words, the Trump administration is hoping to get the information from the IRS on these undocumented taxpayers in order to find them,
Yes.
which there's always been a line in the sand, and that's actually a broader issue that's going on with the IRS and some of the IRS data as well. What is, you mentioned the fear, are people who are legally here also afraid? Are they afraid to do things? Tell us about that.
I wish the answer was no, but unfortunately, yes. Many people are in mixed status families, meaning that somebody has a Social Security, somebody is a DACA recipient, somebody is undocumented, and because of that diversity in families, there is a constant fear of, even though somebody in their family might be okay and not in any fear of being deported, somebody in their family is.
Or somebody in their home.
Exactly.
Somebody in their home. What would you like people to know about your organization and to know about the community in general?
You know, growing up undocumented myself, I know that there is a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety that comes with everything that we're seeing in the news. What helped me was being in community, having a space where I could come and support, and I want them to know that COPAL is that space. And there's also many organizations out there, so if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling like there's very limited that you can do, I encourage everybody to really reach out to one of the organizations like COPAL that is doing the work.
And we were talking earlier, and you mentioned it was something like the Underground Railroad, where there's a network all over the country. If something happens in Moorhead, you know the
Yep.
people in Moorhead. Tell us about how you got your road to status,
Yep.
if you can.
In my personal.
Yeah.
Yep. So I, as I mentioned, I grew up undocumented, and then received DACA, and then now I'm able to have my green card. So that it's been a process for me.
All right, so you've got a green card, and are you confident that you will be able to keep that green card?
With everything that we're seeing right now, I don't know. I don't know, and it is terrifying, but I really don't know.
Okay, but you do have a green card.
I
And
do.
how old were you when you came here?
I was 3 years old.
3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And why did your family come here?
We came here because of the living situation that they were in. The economy that they were living in did not allow them to have a home, to have food on the table on a daily. I also was born with a medical condition, so it was really the last option for my parents. They actually migrated internally before they even even thought about the option of moving outside of Mexico. So it was a challenging time, but for them it was really the only option.
And what are some of the resources that COPAL provides that perhaps are not completely tied to undocumented status?
Yeah, so we do have different core areas like health and wellness, workers' rights, environmental justice. So we do have a worker center on Lake Street. People can either come, call us. We offer a variety of resources. And part of that is also engaging them with the activities that we're doing, such as our outdoor events or art making, so a way that brings in community.
Well, we'll put the information about COPAL if people want to look up and get more information about it on our website. But Carolina Ortiz, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. And that does it for this edition of Talking Points. Please email me with comments and suggestions. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.